The Caitlin Clark stimulus package, also known as the newly agreed upon CBA deal. Make no mistake about it, folks. Every time the owners came to the table and said, fine, we'll increase the salary cap to this, you can thank Caitlin Clark. Every time the owner said, fine, we'll pay for your housing again, you can thank Caitlin Clark. Every time the owner said, shoot, we really don't want to come up off this 15% number, but you know what? We'll move a little bit. You can thank CC22.
A'ja Wilson did not see this coming. Nobody who spent the last 2 years telling themselves that the Caitlin Clark conversation was overblown, that the hype was a media construction, that the ratings would eventually cool, that this league had real stars. Before Clark arrived and would carry on without all of this noise, none of them saw this coming because the WNBA just ratified the most significant collective bargaining agreement in the history of professional women's basketball.
A'ja Wilson and all her Glazers could give a big thank you to Caitlin Clark for her getting paid. Ever since the league came to an agreement, all we've been hearing about is how A'ja Wilson is about to sign this historic Supermax deal like she just did it all on her own. No, you could thank Caitlin Clark for revolutionizing the game so you could get paid. We don't care how many MVPs and championships A'ja won or how she was already known. It doesn't matter. She didn't change the dynamic of the league for the players to get paid like this.
The salary cap jumped from $1.5 million to $7 million. The average player's salary moved from around $120,000 to more than $600,000. The minimum salary crossed $300,000. Real money. Transformative money. The kind of numbers that veteran players in this league have been fighting for since before Caitlin Clark was in high school. And the first number they put on the board was Clark's, from $78,066 in 2025 to $530,000 in 2026. And now the building is on fire.
For example, 2024 Rookie of the Year Caitlin Clark, who made $78,066 in 2025, is poised to see her salary jump to $530,000 in 2026. So this year, she is about to jump to that salary, okay? Now, the other jump, the new provision would also be applicable to younger stars such as Aaliyah Boston, who is max eligible in 2026, and Paige Beckers, who is max eligible in 20.
Here is what actually happened. The WNBA and the Players Association spent 17 months locked in a negotiation that everyone in women's basketball knew was coming. The old CBA was a relic. IT was a structure designed for a league that was grinding for relevance, not one that was breaking viewership records, selling out arenas and markets, that had not filled seats in years, and generating broadcast rights packages that would have been laughed out of the room 5 years earlier. And at the center of all of that growth, every metric that mattered, every room where executives were suddenly paying attention, was one player.
The reason why they had the battery in the back that they had was because of Caitlin Clark's impact. All of the numbers and the metrics that the players could point to, do you see these ratings? Well, Caitlin Clark effect. Oh, do you see this attendance? Well, Caitlin Clark effect. Do you see the social media impressions? Well, Caitlin Clark effect. This is called the Caitlin Clark stimulus package, and it will go down as...
So when the new CBA landed in March 2026, it came with a mechanism nobody wanted to officially name after. A single person. They called it the EPIC provision. Exceptional performance on initial contract. A fast-track salary structure designed for players who change the financial landscape of the league before their rookie deal expires. Caitlin Clark's name does not appear in the official text of that provision. IT did not need to. Everyone in every boardroom in women's basketball knew exactly who they were building it around. The EPIC provision is the WNBA's way of saying quietly, formally, in writing, that not all players are the same. Some players require different paperwork.
So this WNBA collective bargaining agreement will fast-track the ability for players on a rookie-scale contract to make maximum and supermax salaries, sources told ESPN. The new provision, called EPIC, Exceptional Performance on Initial Contract, allows players to renegotiate their 4-year salary and earn the standard max that year if they were previously an all-WNBA first team or second team, or the Supermax if they won in the...
Let's put the numbers on the table, because the numbers are the only thing that tells the story honestly. And without softening the edges, in 2025, Caitlin Clark, the player who pushed the WNBA past 1 million viewers per game. For the first time since 2008, the player who sold out opposing arenas and cities that had not filled seats in a decade. The player whose name on a schedule moved broadcast ratings by a margin that every other player in the league combined could not approach, made 78,000. That is roughly what a mid-level paralegal earns. That is roughly what an entry-level marketing coordinator makes sitting behind a desk in a city no one visits on vacation. IT is not even close to the starting salary of a rookie entering the NBA, the NFL, or Major League Baseball. Meanwhile, Clark was setting assist records and selling jerseys and putting cameras on women's basketball that had not been there in a generation. She was doing things this league had genuinely never seen before, and the league was writing her a check that would not cover 2 months of rent on a decent apartment in Indianapolis. That is not a salary. That is a league hoping its most important asset would not do the math. She did the math. The entire sports world did the math. And the new CBA is the league's formal, public, long overdue acknowledgement that they had no choice left but to do it too.
So what has now happened is, because of the quote-unquote epic rule, I'm going to call it the Caitlin rule, because let's be real, she was the first person to have reached this. Whether it be it's Caitlin, Aaliyah, and Paige are all eligible. I'm just going to call it the Caitlin rule. Just like the old Rose rule in the NBA, we're going to call it the Caitlin rule. So, ironically, if Caitlin goes and wins MVP this year, she's actually eligible for the Supermax in 2026.
Now, in 2026, that changes. Clark's salary jumps to $530,000, a raise of more than 500%, more than 6 times what she was making last season. And before anyone starts applauding the league for finally getting it right, pause, because that $530,000 is still the greatest team sports discount in the modern era, and it is not particularly close. While the WNBA was paying her $78,000, Clark was pulling in $16.1 million in total earnings in 2025 alone. Salary, endorsements, appearances, speaking fees, commercial deals, the full empire. Nike, State Farm, Gatorade, Wilson, Hy-Vee. She is the 6th highest paid female athlete on the planet, in 2025, at full scale of her earning power. The WNBA's payment to her accounted for less than half of 1% of her total income. The league was getting franchise-level services at a price that no business school professor can explain without looking physically uncomfortable. The jump to $530,000 is real. IT is welcome. IT is deserved 10 times over, and it still does not reflect what Clark is actually worth to every broadcast network, every sponsor, and every arena that sells out. The moment her name appears on the away schedule, the raise is not justice, it is just the least the league could do without embarrassing itself further.
The way the team is structured, in order for this team to remain intact, Sophie would have to be willing to take a league minimum kind of deal, which is around $300,000. And I don't see that happening. Okay? And I believe also people are going to be shocked how much money Lexi Hull is about to be offered, because I think she's going to get offered $600,000 to $700,000 by somebody, and that is going to greatly complicate things.
But here is where the story stops feeling like a celebration and starts feeling like a chess problem. Because when Clark's salary moves from $78,000 to $530,000, that money does not fall from the sky. It comes out of a salary cap. The WNBA's new salary cap sits at $7 million. That is the entire payroll budget. The Indiana Fever have to build a competitive basketball team with, not just for Clark, for everyone. Every player from starter to the end of the bench has to fit inside $7 million. And Clark now consumes more than 7% of that cap on her current deal alone, before any extensions, before the max deals, before the offseason decisions. That will define what kind of roster Indiana can realistically construct around her. There is a word for what happens to a salary cap when your franchise player finally gets properly compensated and 3 other cornerstone players are all due extensions in the same window. That word is squeeze, and the Fever are